Welcome to Two Open Doors, the podcast that explores our power to open or close the doors of relationship with the important people in our lives. We hope you'll learn from and share your wisdom with our community. Thanks for joining us. As the saying goes, time wounds all heals. Getting older is one of those inevitable realities in life. It comes with a welter of challenges and issues, as well as with benefits. In this episode, we'll consider what those include and how advancing age affects the intimate connections in our lives. As we'll see, the picture isn't nearly as bleak as how some people see aging. We live in a society that seems like a cult of youth. There are diets and supplements to maintain testosterone and estrogen levels, serums and creams to preserve a youthful complexion, exercise regimens to keep up strength and athletic prowess. The fashion industry spotlights one daring and provocative look after another, meant to flatter toned physiques and nubile bodies. Those over 40 or so seem to become increasingly invisible in our society. From an objective perspective, placing such a heavy emphasis on such a narrow slice of society seems unbalanced and distorted. Perhaps it's largely our youth that the marketing industry focuses on, since the young often have disposable income, a strong need to compete for social position, and social programming that equates possessions with personal worth. That seems like a pretty errant path to personal satisfaction in life, though. Life has its phases, and we all evolve as we age. However much we might want to hang on to what we know and love at a particular point in our lives, we know that's impossible. We change as individuals, and our circumstances are in continual flux. Sex engages all aspects of who we are, our body, mind, emotions, and spirituality. All of those change over time. Most obviously, our physical capabilities change, and in some areas such as libido and physical endurance, they diminish. In other areas, though, the experience that comes with age can actually increase our ability to attune to and fully savor our physical experiences, including those in the sexual and sensual realm. A seasoned and experienced lover can bring a level of patience and subtlety to a sexual experience that is very different from the exuberant, energetic, and sometimes seemingly desperate feel of youthful sex. Both kinds of experience are precious. Each has its place, and one is not more valuable than the other. In later years, with the waning of testosterone and estrogen, erections can become unreliable, as can lubrication. Thankfully, there are often medical solutions to these physical challenges. On a mental plane, experience can teach people to come to see sex as a much broader and more varied playground than that which positions penetrative penis and vagina or PIV sex as the only kind of real sex. Oral sex, finger play, and BDSM practices are examples of this broader palette of sexual practices. Having a broader range of practices can help keep one's sex life from becoming repetitious or routine or boring. On an emotional plane, sex can serve as a vehicle for partners to come to know one another deeply. A deep connection takes time and shared experiences to develop. Because of that, time can actually be one's friend in building mature emotional connections. Casual, short-term sexual connections may offer fun and excitement, but they lack the substance to bring two people together in a truly intimate way. Given the changes that age brings to one's sexual life, it's good to expect and be prepared for those changes. Perhaps the most important way that one can prepare is to recognize that our social programming around age is broken and damaging. Rather than buying into messages that position age as an enemy that we need to invest all of our resources to resist, we can try to gracefully accept the inevitable reduction in some of our capabilities, while instead focusing on the good things that can accompany increasing age and understanding. We can shift our efforts to maintaining a healthy body and lifestyle, while rejecting the call to adhere to an impossible-to-achieve body image. By bending before the wind in this way, we may well find that we are happier with who we are. Our life can be more satisfying and relaxed, rather than frantic and full of despair. One of the unfortunate things that happen to many older people is that they become more disconnected from their friends and peers and even family. The resulting loneliness is very damaging, both psychologically and even physically. Lack of social connections can have as adverse an effect on health as does smoking 15 cigarettes a day or misusing alcohol. For an eye-opening article on these effects, read The Risks of Social Isolation by Amy Novotny, published by the American Psychological Association. Social connections are very important to the maintenance of a healthy sex life. For those who have a committed partner, social events provide stimulus and novelty to keep their connection vibrant. Such events also offer the possibility of encountering new friends and partners. For those without a consistent life partner, social events provide opportunities to meet interesting new people, as well as offering stimulating activities. Some of the social connections can lead to new intimate connections that bring the joys of sex and sensuality to their participants. In short, social connections provide a way for older people to stay engaged with life. In addition to enjoying individual friendships and loving relationships, various communities offer opportunities for adults of all ages to find satisfying connections. As an example, participating in a local sex-positive community allows members to explore sensual and sexual connections through touch events such as cuddles and various forms of massage. The events offered by such communities typically cover a wide range of interests, including educational events, social gatherings, and more explicitly sensual or sexual connection opportunities. While some such groups may focus on the interests of youth, such as gaming or speed dating, many welcome members of all ages, orientations, and genders. Being part of such inclusive and exploration-oriented communities can greatly enrich the lives of all participants. Throughout our adult lives, most of us have had a variety of sexual experiences. Initially, we may have had many partners as we learn to navigate the many ways in which people experience sex. Our various partners help us to better understand our own sexual and sensual preferences. We learn what we enjoy and what we dislike. At the same time, we get a sampling of the equally diverse sexual tastes of others. We're exposed to a variety of sexual practices, and we may come to adopt some of those as our own standbys. Our evolving understanding of the richness and variety of sex is one of the benefits of leading a life that includes a variety of partners and an openness to sexual experimentation. Those whose experience is limited, which includes me in my younger years, may have a fairly narrow view of what sex is and how it can enrich our lives. If a couple enters a committed relationship while very young, and especially if they subscribe to socially programmed views of what is proper and permissible in sex, they may never have had a chance to explore beyond the bounds of their programming. That's especially true if they aren't inclined to be experimental, and if they subscribe to moral dictates around sexual propriety, such as those which are commonplace in many conservative religions. Why should it matter that someone has limited sexual experience? After all, that's true of most, if not all of us. To varying degrees, we all have limits to our experiences, and we probably all have not only well-defined sexual preferences, but also limits to what we find personally acceptable in the realm of sex. The potential resulting issue is that the more limited our range of sexual experiences, the fewer options we have at our disposal if our more usual or preferred sexual practices somehow become unavailable to us. That would be the case faced by a man who experiences severe erection difficulties, perhaps due to surgery or medication side effects or circulatory system insufficiency, and for whom penetrative PIV sex is no longer feasible. In such a case, it would be helpful to have a variety of alternative sexual practices to fall back on. If a person's palette of practices is narrow and rigid, finding viable alternatives becomes problematic. As we've been considering, people evolve throughout life, and that includes a natural evolution in one's relationship with sex. Since the lifelong goal of sex, beyond its role in procreation, is to share pleasure with a partner, our mental and physical health depend on our retaining a healthy sexual life. To the extent that we acquire a broad understanding of the diversity of sexual expressions, and to the extent that we remain experimental and adaptive as we age, we'll be well positioned to enjoy a life that's enlivened and enriched by the life force of sex. To learn more about Two Open Doors and to engage with our community, I'd like to invite you to visit the Two Open Doors private Facebook group for posts and discussion, and the Two Open Doors meetup group for events. I also invite you to contact me directly by writing to me at Claude, C-L-A-U-D-E, at twoopendoors.com. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll use your inputs to guide my work on future blog posts and podcast episodes. Thanks for visiting Two Open Doors.